Episode 10, Red Flags, Green Lights, and Oh No Moments, Dating Edition. Dating is one of those things everyone has opinions about, but most of us figure it out by making mistakes first. Today's episode is all about the stuff we wish someone had told us sooner. The red flags we ignored, the lessons we learned the hard way, and the advice we'd actually give if we could go back. I'm Steffi K, and this is You Sticking With That?
Hey, Steffi K, got something to say. Talk that listens, clears the way. Truth on the mic, grounded in change. You sticking with that? Oh yeah, we sticking with that. Laugh it out, talk it through, we ain't looking back.
Some chats ain't easy, but we take it slow. Tough stuff, tackle now, watch us grow.
You sticking with that? Yeah, we sticking with that.
Today, I'm sitting down with some friends for an honest, real conversation about dating, not from a textbook, but from experience. This isn't about bashing people or reliving trauma. It's about clarity, laughter, and maybe saving someone else a little time. Because sometimes the best advice comes from people who already stepped in the potholes. We are so excited today to have some very special friends with us. We have Joni, Beth, and Lisa. Let's take a few moments and we'll give everyone a chance to say a little bit about their marriage or dating history and a little bit about themselves. Joni, why don't you start?
Sure. Hi, Steffi. Thanks for having me. My name is Joni D. I am in my mid-50s. I'm from New York City, actually from Wall Street. Moved to Florida in 2002. I was married about 15 years and I have 3 kids. Been divorced almost 20 years.
My name is Beth. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm a Midwest girl. I've been in Florida since 2015. I was married for 21 years and I have 2 children. Then I was in a very long relationship for about 13 years. And presently I have been with someone for the last 4 years. So been married once.
Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm 36 and originally I am from Connecticut. I did move to Florida in 2017. I'm currently single. I'm here to discuss prior bad relationships because of ignoring red flags.
Let's get the party started, ladies, shall we? All right. How would you describe your dating life in one word, past or present? I would say for me, currently non-existent. Joni, what would you say?
I've got to say exciting.
I have to say very short.
And I would have to say chaotic.
Okay. Have you been more of a hope for the best dater, would you guys say, or a trust your gut dater? Beth?
I would say trust your gut dater, definitely. I think you can always hope for the best, but I think generally, especially with women, I think we do have a true gut feeling, even if we do ignore some red flags.
Joni?
Looking backward now, I'm going to have to admit I probably was a hope for the best. I really did ignore some very bright red flags.
Okay, well, we'll be getting into that. Lisa?
And I would also have to say I was a hope for the best. I ignored several red flags just because I was dating my potential instead of who was really in front of me.
So many of us could say that too, right?
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. What's something you really wish you had known earlier in dating?
I think definitely boundaries and not forgetting who you are. What I have found through, experience and, my friends and family is that we always do hope for the best. And I think we as women, no matter who our relationship is with, always thinks we can change people. And I think that's kind of maybe a maternal instinct. If you have someone with maybe a substance abuse issue or someone who really doesn't treat you very well, I think you always think they'll change for you because supposedly they love you. And I think that's a lesson that for some maybe younger women, especially, to make sure they really stay true to themselves and don't become just such a quick part of their person's life. And if you're dating or it becomes your husband, definitely stay true to yourself.
Well, and along those lines too, I was talking this weekend already about, we had did an episode a few weeks ago about how do you like your eggs? And I think a lot of us women, we find looking back that I don't know if conformed is the word, but we kind of chose what the guy liked and it lost ourselves in the process. But at the time, we don't see it. Anyone have anything? Joni?
Yeah, I think I went for the fun and ignored who the core of the person was. And that would be the best advice I can give my younger self in the dating process. Don't ignore who the core of the person is. If he's a bad guy, but a hell of a lot of fun, admit to yourself you're with a bad guy and move on quickly, very quickly.
I'll also have to piggyback on that in regards to boundaries. I moved to a different state with a guy that I thought was my soulmate. There was nothing for me in the state that I moved to. I didn't have any identity. I followed who he was, and eventually it turned bad for me. And I think going through it made me realize that you're going to always have yourself, and you have to stay true to yourself and your beliefs and your gut instinct.
Joni kind of answered this already, but if we have anything to add, what advice do you wish someone had given you but didn't?
Don't be so available. I always thought I was the one that had to lead the relationship, that had to initiate plans and make the effort to reach out. In the end, it ended up actually being used in that sense, because they always know that you're going to be there and you're going to answer right when they call. That is definitely something I stay true to now.
Yeah, I wish somebody had given me advice of pay attention to the actions, not the words.
Yes.
It doesn't matter that he tells you so much how much he loves you. Pay attention to the actions. Does he act like he loves you? Or is he, for instance, a narcissist, just loves himself?
Exactly. What did you used to excuse that you would never excuse now?
So much.
Where to begin? Oh my God. Oh, substance abuse.
Okay.
The drinking. The drinking looks like it's a hell of a lot of fun. In fact, some guys are just actually just fun people on alcohol. They're not angry, abusive men. They're just fun guys. But you really have to own up to it and pay attention to how much the drinking is. It's not going to go away. That you're not going to change anybody. The question you said.
What did you used to excuse that you would never excuse now?
Worst case example ever. I saw my boyfriend on antipsychotic drug and asked why all these antipsychotics, and he told me the doctor prescribed them for sleep. I believed him. I made excuses. I thought the doctor was a quack, when in fact this guy was mentally ill and needed those medicines. So when I encouraged him to come off, he had a psychotic break. Worst example ever.
No, I think that is definitely a big part of a lot of relationships. But I also just think of what you're valued. I had a therapist once ask me, how does he touch your heart? How does he warm your soul? I'm talking about one long relationship. And it was so sad because he didn't, and I really never expected him to. So I think early on, I kind of gave up a lot of the expectations. And I think when you're younger and you're trying to build a life with someone, you just get so focused on daily life, buying your house, paying the bills, dealing with your in-laws, everything you have to do as a young couple. And I don't even think I really ever expected him to do much. And so I think the expectations were so low, and I do blame myself for that. I never told him what I needed. I never, let him know when I was lonely. So a lot of it was, also just really poor communication. But it's things I would never put up with now that I'm not sure that I was ever really that important.
Lisa, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just to piggyback what Joni said as well. I think now as I'm older, things are starting to make a little bit more sense. I dated a drug addict for 6 years. Throughout that time, I was thinking that I can change him. I can make him get clean. Just as long as we're together, he'll be clean. Everything's fine, which obviously is not the case. And then years later, when you learn, that nurturing, motherly behavior, it comes back to you when you sit with yourself. It ended up being there's something missing in me that needed to, or felt the need that person was my soulmate.
And I think something we talked about in a prior episode too, just exactly what Lisa said, is we need to, as women, take that time, or men too, actually, to rediscover ourselves, find out who we are, and, fill our cup and be whole as an individual on our own. And too many times we go from relationship to relationship because we think we need that. We're either afraid to be alone, or, we need that because to make us whole, we need him. But really, the best relationships and the most healthy are the ones where we are whole on our own first. And then we find that partner. And then that's really when we can be coming together, in harmony and making a relationship work and last. Do you guys have anything to add?
I definitely think about the partnership and the relationship I'm in now, which I really love and I really value, is we build each other both up. So I don't feel like, oh, I'm really giving 80%, he's giving 20. Now, obviously, there's days of the week where one of us is kind of slacking, but generally, that person should be your biggest supporter. So no matter what's going on in your life, if you've made a big mistake, you've lost your job, you've had some relationship issues, that should be your safe place. And I know it's corny, but I really believe home really is where that person is. So it doesn't matter where they are, where they live, if you live together, you just feel so safe. And I think that's the beauty of a really strong relationship, that you just know that's your person. And it's easy, and it doesn't take a lot of work, as you say. I mean, it's just like a joyful part of your life. And I think as you get older, you just want that because you realize, okay, I can live alone, I'm independent, but I want to share my life with someone. So it should not be work. It should be really part of an experience where you just wake up every day and be like, wow, it's so nice that someone loves me so much. And I love them.
Exactly right. We've mentioned a few red flags along the way today already. One being substance abuse in different forms. Another being, Joni had mentioned, watch their actions, not their words. Do we have any other red flags that don't seem obvious at first that we might be able to help someone else look for?
Yeah. Guys that won't introduce you to their family, their kids, their friends. They won't show you their home, where they live. This is so important. They just want to be, you're just getting crumbs. You're just getting a little piece of them. My niece is going through something like this right now. She's been seeing somebody for almost a year, still hasn't seen where he lives, hasn't met his kids. It's, he's only involved in her life. She's not part of his life. That's a huge red flag. Somebody's hiding something.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed.
I also think it's really important to see the person with other people in their life besides you and maybe your kids or your friends. But I love seeing my boyfriend with his family and those relationships. I think it's such a huge part of what he is. Or a coworker, someone he's talked about, someone he went to school with. It's like, I get to finally meet you and I can see now why you're such good friends. Or you go to a wedding and you see all his cousins and everything. It's like, wow, that's a huge part of how he is the way he is. And I think if you don't have that, it's obviously a very big red flag. What is the person hiding, especially their home? That's a pretty basic situation.
One guy put off me coming to his home for a while. I got there. It was a hoarder house. True hoarder house. Could have been on that show. And not only his house, his mother's house, his sister's house, his son's house. The whole family was a family of hoarders. Was this something I was going to change or ever fix? No. He would just eventually make my house a hoarder house.
As we always need balance, let's switch gears now and talk about green flags. What is a green flag you didn't appreciate till later? Anyone have something like that? I'll start with nice guy. There's a lot of nice guys out there. Help us out with everyday chores, different things. You have a flat tire, great, I'll be there. Sometimes you don't realize how important little things are like that, or someone who's gonna bring you a coffee. I know there's a meme going out there that I saw. It says, I'm no marriage counselor, but have you tried bringing your wife an iced latte and putting your hat on backwards? And I thought that was so cute. Yeah, anything you guys have to add to all that?
So the too nice guy. The guy that's too nice and he seems kind of boring. The one that got away. Years later, you think of that guy and said, why did I let that guy let go? Why did I let go of him?
Yeah, I think definitely the small little things that someone does for you do mean so much more. I mean, especially as you get older and you might already have had, all the gifts or the different jewelry. I actually have enjoyed kind of letting my jewelry go from past relationships because it doesn't serve me anymore. But also I'm much more about things like you just said. Like it's important to me that someone knows my favorite mug, what kind of coffee I like. Do I take it black? Do I have sugar? It's simple things like that I feel like a lot of your girlfriends know. Like I love water with ice. I mean, it's kind of a joke, or what kind of anything. If you are dating someone and you've been out several times and they don't know if you drink white or red wine, I think that is kind of an issue because I'm looking and seeing what he's drinking or how he takes something. You kind of get started to feel like their little relationship and what's important to them. And those are the kind of things that I think make a relationship, is watching and seeing what is important to them.
When I was younger, it used to always be about looks for me. That guys would initiate and be like, you're gorgeous, you're pretty. Or actually, no, they would say you're hot. I think now I want somebody who wants to get to know me, that you're more than just looks. And there's so much about that person. And I feel like that's one of my main struggles, that it's a little hard to find somebody who wants to, dig in and see what you do for work and what you do on the weekends and what your hobbies are. And I feel like that there's not, well, I haven't experienced that. So
This episode, I have not mentioned a little bit about me. I have mentioned it on my podcast over the course of it. I was married 25 years, and full disclosure, that was my second marriage. I married my high school sweetheart at 20 years old till 23, but I have 3 kids with my second husband, and I've been divorced about 3 years. So this is a whole new thing. And as you know, dating has completely changed over the last 30 years now, and gotten to experience it in significant detail with my gal friends all along the way. It's just different, obviously, when you're experiencing it yourself and you didn't know that was coming about. And it's just, you do get a whole new take on everything.
I just went on a date. This is pretty relevant. It's exactly what Lisa's just commented on. 2 hours, the guy talked about himself. 2 hours. He didn't ask me why I moved to Florida, how many kids I have, what I do for a living. Nothing. At the end of the 2 hours, I like to call people out on that. And I said, I know everything about you, your life, your parents, your kids, your work. You know nothing about. He thought it was the greatest date ever because he talked for 2 hours.
I'm not going to say who it is because that doesn't matter, but the story is true. Someone I'm very close to had a date, and they came over. It was a lunch date, and they came over after, and the guy proceeded to yodel, started singing this whole yodel song, and the dog kind of went crazy, like, what is going on? And then he's like, well, would you like me to sing another one? She's like, no, we're good.
That's enough.
But that's enough. But just out of nowhere, just get up and just make a presentation. It's like just very unique, very, very, very interesting. But I still laugh about that one. So what would we say actually makes someone feel safe to date? Safety is important.
I think it's really hard. Again, what I've seen through friends and my daughter, we live in a different world, especially because most of us don't live in our hometown. And I feel like when you're in your hometown or recently out of college, you're meeting people that maybe your brother knows his friend, or it's a family member, like, oh, I know that kid. But when you move to a new city or state and you're a little older, you don't have those same connections of, oh, I met him in college, or I met him, and now everyone's working from home. So I feel like it's really been hard for people with the online dating. You don't really know if the person's actually who they say they are. I think the safety thing is huge because of so many people who just come on and you don't even know if they're really the person. Is it really Bob? You have no idea. So I think it's so much harder with the online dating, and especially because you don't know. You don't know anyone's history. You don't know anything about them.
I agree completely, and it still goes back to what we said a few minutes ago. After the first initial date, which obviously, you have to go on, that you have to get introduced into their lives soon after that. It's so important to see they have friends, their friends like them. They have coworkers. They have children who speak to them and like them. It's just such a bad, horrible red flag when they have children who don't speak. I have 2 kids, but they don't speak to me. I haven't talked to them in 3 years. Big problem.
Another thing I've seen through some of my girlfriends, who I think are, smart and beautiful and everything, is the men that they're so bitter from their past relationship, and I know women can be too, but I'm not sure. They seem really angry, and I don't think they're really probably ready to date or maybe should date, but I'm not sure how much they really like women in general, especially if maybe financially they got hurt. I think that's a big issue with them. And I also have heard that a lot of the men are not really interested in relationships. They know that they're kind of a rare commodity, especially if they're maybe a little good looking and in good shape and have some money. And they definitely know they can go younger. And I'm not sure that they really want a relationship. A lot of it is like, no, I was married 20 years, 25 years. I'm just going to date whoever I want to date, which, some women want that, which is fine. But I've also seen some women that have been kind of shocked after months of dating when the person's like, yeah, I really don't want a relationship. It's like seems to be a lot of wasted energy.
Call it what it is up front. Be honest.
Exactly. And I think what Beth said about men being very angry, It's also a huge red flag when they speak about their ex with such hatred and such venom. That makes me feel unsafe. I don't know about you.
As far as safety goes, I think a green flag may be they're self-aware that they know themselves. I started practicing yoga like 7 years ago, and it was like a spiritual awakening for me when I do see somebody who is aware of their actions and they can apologize and they can say sorry and without a big huge argument. I think that to me is safety as a whole.
I like it. That's good. Have you guys ever realized mid-date that you were absolutely not sticking with it? Joni just shared her story. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I just think all our time is so precious, and I think we all would rather just be at home, comfy. For me, it's watching Netflix on the couch. So if you're going to put on a little, take a little extra time trying to look cute and have a nice outfit on, and then you get there and it's either not the person you think it's going to be or they don't really take care of themselves. I think it could be very grim. And I can see why a lot of people go off the dating sites. They go on for a couple months, bad experience, go off. So I do think it just takes, I think it actually is like a part-time job for a lot of people that you really have to put the energy in it because otherwise you can get really disillusioned quickly by it.
Yeah, I agree completely. If we're talking about online dating or just kind of power dating, it's disheartening. And you have to be psychologically prepared for the constant stream of disappointment coming your way and not let it get to you and not let it get to the point where you feel like giving up. Don't give up. There is hope, but you got to kiss a lot of frogs to get there.
So spinning off that, I have a friend in Nebraska, a guy friend, and he said it's very confusing. Let's go into games for a little bit here. Some women seem to like to play games and some don't. And he's said he's like mid-40s, 44, single guy. And he's like, it's just because every woman's different. He's trying to find that relationship and find that person, but he said it's very confusing. And I'd like to just share a story real quick. So about a year ago, there was a guy that I was considering dating for about 5 weeks. And he was really excellent, call all the time, very consistent, did conceivably all the things right. Let's fast forward 5 weeks. I had met him out and this other gal came in. In fact, I was talking to a friend on the phone really briefly. She had a situation. Anyway, he proceeded to get up from next to me. And again, we were friends, but he had indicated many times that he wanted more than that, okay? And so he gets up and walks across the bar and was giving all this attention to this other gal and hugging her and all this stuff. And I knew it was to make me jealous. And I think in his mind, he was thinking, okay, now I'm going to be jealous. You know what I mean? So now I'm going to pursue him or change the relationship into an official dating situation. But for me, it had the opposite effect. I was like, I will not play a game like that. If a guy won't value your heart as a friend, he will not value your heart as more than that.
That's awesome.
That's
I like
true.
that.
And so I blocked him, and that was the end of that. But what do you guys have to add to that at all?
I learned many years ago, actually, from a marriage counselor, we don't allow anyone to be reckless with our hearts. And that was great advice.
That's really good advice. But it was also smart of you that you saw that sign, because I'm not sure in different parts of my life that I would have been like, oh, I guess now I should let him know that I really want to date him and, be looking at the other woman. When you had to come probably with maturity, we realized, no, if he's comfortable doing that, why doesn't he just say to me, I really would like to start dating you. We have a great friendship. Would you like to, take this farther? Mm-hmm. But once he did that, is he going to do that in the future? If you two are not maybe getting along and he wants to get you, that would be not an easy situation. And it obviously wouldn't work.
Yeah, and I just want to applaud you for that. I think a lot of women will chase at that point. And that's when back then I would have chased because, it's like, oh my gosh, he's going to be gone or someone else is going to get him. And I think when you get older, you realize that you're not here for games. That just shows emotional immaturity on his part. So it's like he revealed his true colors to the point where you're like, no, that's not for me. and move on.
We're going to switch gears now just a little bit here, and I want to focus on the questions that guys would want to ask us. How soon do you know if you're actually interested in them?
Immediately. I mean, it's just instantaneous.
Instant.
Okay, there you go, guys. What makes you decide to give a guy a second date?
My criteria is if I'm not repulsed on the first date, they get a second date. If everything else, all else being equal, everything else went well and there were no major red flags, I'll give it another shot.
That is so funny, Joni. I love it. I would say for me, it definitely is, again, time-wise. When I met my boyfriend, when he definitely the next day called and said, I'd love to go out to dinner with you now tonight, I love that because we had a fabulous evening. If he hadn't called or texted, I'm sure I would have already started in my mind. I thought we had a great date. I can't believe he didn't call. But the fact that I woke up to that where he said, if you're free, let's, walk to dinner tonight. I was very excited. I thought it was wonderful.
And I think that just goes to show that he knew exactly what he was looking for at that point.
So let's talk about that, feelings. So this next question says, when you say, I'm busy, does that ever mean I'm not interested?
One of us was dating someone for several dates, and all of them were really nice. No, you want to continue to see that person, and all of a sudden the texting or the calling stopped. I think that's when you would reach out just to say, like, is everything okay? If they're going to just keep saying they're busy. Because obviously, if you dated 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden they're busy, then they're not interested.
I think so too. These are men asking this question
Yeah.
to women.
To women, yeah.
To women. Oh, you've gone on a few dates and now they ask you out again. The woman simply says, I'm busy. Yeah, she's not interested. Because if she was interested, she might say, look, I'm booked up tonight and tomorrow night. I can't make it, but I would love to see you again, and I am available on these nights.
Correct.
Yeah. And I definitely want to piggyback on that she would make the initiative to schedule
The next one.
the next date.
To expand on that, do you guys expect a guy to chase you, or do you appreciate direct effort?
I still like the chase. I think men should be men. And as women, we should let men be men. And they should call us, chase us. They should pay for the date. I'm just old-fashioned.
I am too. I agree with that. I think some women could maybe use that a little bit to their advantage if they're not really serious about the person. But if you really are interested in the person, I think you should get flowers. I think they should do those little things. I like the romance. I want the door open for me. I think that's kind of your future. The best you're getting is the date you're on. This is kind of like you're both showing your best. So if that's their best, which means not open the door for you. Another thing is, simple things like where we live, walking on the sidewalk, they should be on the outside of you. They should open the door going into a restaurant. You should not be following behind them. Or you're at a stop sign and they're already across the street. I see it all the time downtown St. Petersburg where the man's already across the street and the woman is still at the curb. I like a man who wants to take care of the woman. And even though I know I'm perfectly capable of it, I like when they put like their hand on my back and kind of guide me. And if we're in a busy situation, I like that feeling. Find a seat for us, do all those little things. I love it.
I agree. I think that just goes back to safety, that you're feeling secure in the relationship. And again, it goes back to the man being self-aware as far as they have morals, they have values, and that overall is a green flag. We want men to pursue us.
One of my good friends, some of us have in our family, we get advice passed down from generations, and the grandma had taught them all, when you're dating someone at first, pick their worst quality. Okay, so whatever it is that you like the least, an action or something bigger, like maybe they have a potential gambling problem or whatever. Now, whatever that thing is that you aren't crazy about, multiply it times 3, because over the years, that's just going to get worse. If that's something that you're like, nope, I can't do this, then that's your answer. And I guess that's worked for them and their family.
I love that advice, and I'll expand on that. The smartest woman I ever met gave me advice that pay attention in the beginning, because the end is in the beginning. Meaning, if that relationship should come to an end, it will always be something that was noticed early on in the beginning, but ignored.
Yes.
And like Beth said too, the first few dates that you get with this guy, that's the best.
How does the person treat others when you're out? Wait staff? other people. If you have someone, for me, I'm very generous. I like to tip. I think it's important. If you're going to a restaurant, you should be able to, if you're going to afford the food, you should be able to afford to tip. Someone who I can notice is not a tipper or makes comments like, why should I give them 20%? Or just is dismissive of wait staff, bartenders, whoever. That is not how I don't want, and I also don't want to be associated with that. So that's huge for me. Respect others.
Yes, and now I understand that being huge. I did go on a date with a guy 6 years ago, and we went to a chain restaurant, and he looked at me at the end and said, do you have money for a tip? And I was like, no, I don't have any cash on me. And it's because he had a gift card, and he didn't want to tip the waiter or waitress. You know, now I look back and I'm like, thankfully, I never dated this person. Nothing ever went forward in that. There were so many just red flags overall.
So here's a good one, guys. How often do you want to text when you're dating someone new?
I love that. I mean, when you're actually dating this person, you should be in. I like the constant communication. I'm thinking of you, you're thinking of me. I know where you are, you know where I am. What I don't like is that all that texting before you've ever met, because that's just a waste of time.
I think it's almost like they want to just be little pen pals, and I think they might be doing this to several women. So my kind of rule, if we talk for a little bit, a couple times, and we have a connection, we need to meet for coffee or something, because I'm not going and every day talk to you like, oh, today I'm going to work, I had oatmeal, and tonight I'm meeting a friend after. I mean, you can do that, but that's not what I'm going to do. If you have a great connection, plan something, even if you're traveling or some family's in town, plan it for a week, 2 weeks, because if you don't, why you keep talking to this person?
You got to meet quickly.
You do.
And then you could text me all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. But also don't expect always for someone to get back to you. And I think people get their feelings hurt more on text than obviously phone calls, because if someone is really busy, something happens, and you're like, oh, I said good morning at 8 a.m. and now it's 2 p.m. You kind of have to realize you are just in the beginning stages, and they don't really need to text you back in 5 minutes. It's nice if they do, but you have to realize that, and you might even talk to them about that. Like I might say, I can't text back at work, or make those things known. So if it is something that you're sensitive to, like, hey, let's have a phone call after 7 o'clock tonight, to know that they're still thinking of you.
Texting for me, and it's crazy to say, especially in my generation, because I think there's just so much miscommunication with texting. I'm with you all on, I'm not texting you for a week. We need to meet. You know, if we have stuff in common, if we like the same sports team, if we are from the same state, let's meet up. Let's see if we vibe. Other than that, I don't want to be this pen pal, a text buddy. Communication wise, I prefer like either a FaceTime or a call, just because things can be misinterpreted.
I am so big on calling, largely because of what you just said there, because I tend to be a little sarcastic, and I've read over, text streams, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that wasn't what my intent was at all. It wasn't perceived. Whereas if it had been a phone call, that could have been, super easy communication. If someone is dating right now, what's one thing you'd tell them to stop doing?
Stop talking to your ex. If you want to move forward, you got to leave the past behind.
And then what's one thing you'd tell them to start doing?
Trusting their gut. I think as women, or my younger self, grew up not trusting myself. So now as I'm older and you have a little bit more experience, now I look back on things that I knew this person wasn't good, but I just continued because I like the attention, or, I wanted somebody. But I could have saved myself a whole lot of heartbreak if you just trust your gut. And if something doesn't seem right, it's not okay.
I agree with Lisa completely. So pay attention to all the signs. This is what we're talking about. The red flags, the green flags, pay attention, because they do mean something. Don't ignore them.
I also think just because you have gone out with someone 5 times, 10 times, or whatever, which just happened to someone I know, that it's okay to realize it's not going to work. And even though, I wasted a lot of time, you really didn't waste it. You're going to always learn something from that. And you maybe learned, even though in a lot of ways he was really great, you also just realize he's not your person. And so instead of continuing to try to make something, it's not going to happen. So I think you should give it as much time as you feel comfortable that you gave it a good college try. Yeah. But also, don't also waste a lot of your time when you really just know, I'm not really attracted to him. Too much bothers me. I don't see a future with him. Right. Instead of just kind of filling in the space, Kind of like, okay, we gave it a good try, and leave on amicable terms. That's what it's called, dating. You're trying each other out.
You can be the exact right package, just at the wrong address. So what is something that actually makes a guy attractive to you beyond looks?
Confidence. Confidence is very attractive. A guy that's an effective communicator. A guy that can hold an intelligent conversation, not feel like you're pulling. I have been on those dates where I felt like I'm pulling teeth, asking question after question. I'm only getting a response, a one-word response, and nothing back.
I think confidence is huge. I think with men, when you talk about narcissism and things like that, I think that always comes from men that aren't confident, that have poor self-esteem. And I think being with a confident man is so great because they already know exactly who they are. They feel good about themselves. So it's not like you have to constantly build them up and tell them how great they are. They already feel good. They're already happy with themselves. They just want you there because you're helping their life. You're bringing more joy to it. But I think that's what really is, I think, very attractive. Confidence and someone with a really good sense of humor. I mean, I have to
so
laugh.
important.
You have to laugh.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I started something brand new. I became more self-aware very recently, and this is my own gauge. I gauge how everything's going by, am I smiling? Do I have a genuine smile on my face? Am I really laughing? Am I having a good time? And when I'm not, just like Beth said, call it a day. Like, that's it. This is not fun. If it's not fun, we have to move on.
Yeah.
What's a subtle thing a guy can do that instantly boosts his chances?
You want to feel like someone's attracted to you. And so you want someone who is comfortable with maybe just a little bit, if it's your first date, maybe a little hug or something. You don't want someone to come on too strong, but you definitely want to make sure like, wow, they really do like the way I look. They really are attracted to me. We have some connection. You have to have chemistry. You have to.
And I would add to that, be interested, not interesting. Be interested in the woman.
What's an instant turnoff most men don't realize they're doing?
Well, I said it before, droning on and on and on about themselves and their lives, and they're not interested in the woman's life. For me, that actually is the biggest behavioral turnoff there is.
Low effort. I mean, I think it goes back to whether they're playing games or not. I think low effort in games could also kind of tie together.
I would give advice to men to be decisive and very clear, have clarity. Don't ask somebody out for Saturday night and then leave there's no actual plan. There's no place, there's no time. It's just like you're supposed to reserve. This just happened to me. Friday or Saturday, the guy was like, I'll let you know. I'm supposed to save my whole weekend open and not know we don't actually have a date. That's not attractive.
So do you like it when a guy plans dates, or do you guys prefer to co-plan it?
I like to see where they choose because it says so much about who they are. So I'm an alpha woman. I actually really need a strong alpha male who's going to take control. I know instantly if somebody's going to ask me for coffee at Starbucks, that's not my guy. If he's asking me to a pretty nice restaurant or steak dinner, that might be my guy.
And see, I'm the opposite of Joni because that would be my guy. Probably not Starbucks, but a coffee shop would be awesome for me. That would be perfect.
I'm also more of a casual, just in a casual setting, maybe not Starbucks, like she said, or it could be Starbucks, just for it to be kind of low effort because I'm not sure if I'm really interested in this person. So I don't want to be all, having to get a new outfit and spend money on nails and shoes and me meet this person and me not be interested. So it can also go both ways. So if something low key, and then if we do click at that point, then I'm down for that steak dinner.
Yeah.
Is it a red flag if someone hasn't dated in a long time?
I don't think necessarily. I think everyone does their own pace. If they've been recently divorced or have had, a lot of them have had a pretty long relationship and they've taken a year off and whatever has been going on in their life, that doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't bother me either.
It doesn't bother me either. Actually, in that situation right now where dating for me was a lot of past trauma that I had to work through. So if I was dating 5 years ago, I don't think I would be a good person to date. Or maybe I would. Maybe I just would find the wrong people. So I think, again, like Beth said, everybody goes at their own pace. And when you're ready, you're ready.
Hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it? But there is no going back. only looking forward. And like we said, if we can, even the situations that don't have the outcomes we want, if we can look and spin it on what did we learn? What did we gain? How did we grow as a person? I think it just helps us work through whatever emotions we have on that. How honest do you guys think a guy should be about his dating past early on?
I don't think you need to go, how far back. Obviously, if someone's just got out of a relationship, you maybe want to talk about that. If they'd been living together, I think that all that comes to play. I don't think you need to go back years and years. I mean, I think a lot of people are more vague, kind of like married 20 years, have 2 kids. Joni may have more insight on that, but I don't know if I need to know every situation. I think for me, it would be the most recent.
I think they should be honest. I mean, my worst case example here is I met someone who told me he was divorced a year, that his wife left a full year ago, 12 months. A relationship ensued. I started seeing him. It took me a pretty long time to actually figure out she had just left. She left like 8 weeks before I met him. Like, that was vital information that I needed to know. And he lied. And lo and behold, the relationship lasted 2.5 years, but guess why it ended? Because he lied.
Yes.
He was a liar. His best friend of 40 years told me that he was a pathological liar. And that will always be a problem. And the end was in the beginning.
So mixed signals, as women, sometimes we do give mixed signals, and we know that. It's not just on the guy's side. So, but if you like a guy, do you make it obvious or subtle every time?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with I make it pretty obvious. Again, that might have to go along with my alpha personality, but if I like them, I let them. I actually do say it out loud, I think. I really, really like you a lot. Like 5th grade. I really, really like you a lot.
Check
I'd
yes
love
or no.
to see you again.
Yeah, I think you should be yourself, and if that's part of your personality, I mean, I think you'd still be a little guarded because obviously you're like already thinking, maybe this isn't going to go anywhere. But yeah, I think by your actions, if you're really excited about seeing them again, and you ask like, oh, what should I wear, and where are we going to meet, and you can kind of, it's exciting. It's like, oh, I really want to see them again. And I think if that's the way they feel too. But yeah, I think you can definitely know by your actions, by how you contact them, by how you are with them. I just feel like very quickly if there's a connection.
When you say, I need space, what do you really mean? It's pointless, or let's not pursue this further, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. I mean, maybe there's so many scenarios where somebody would say, I need space, but I'm thinking maybe one person is a little too smothering, and you really, really like them a lot. You just wish they'd back off a little. Like, give me some space.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I think, especially if you're used to living alone and you like your independence, I think it is definitely a touchy subject that I have not handled well. And it continues to be. Now we laugh about it, but it really isn't funny the way I handled it. Looking back on it now, it really didn't really have anything to do with him. It had to do with extra things going on in my life. And he was the same as he always was. It was me just saying, right now I feel like I can't juggle this too, especially if you haven't been in a relationship, in a while. Mm-hmm. That it's like, how am I going to fit this person in my life and give them the energy that they deserve? So for me, it's like wondering about that. So that's been a little bit where it's like I need a not really even a break, but just like a little space. But a lot of times it has to do with me just being like, okay, I feel very overwhelmed in life in general.
And I would have to agree with Beth and Joni. As long as you're dating a woman or man who's honest, that I think communication as a whole is huge. I mean, space for one person may mean something completely different to another. So I think I am all about my independence. I want somebody who I can fit into my life and not just, what they bring to the table. And the smothering part, for me, I need my time to exercise, do yoga, and they can also have their own separate life. So I think that's balance is very important in a relationship, in a healthy relationship.
Well, ladies, we have covered so much ground today, and it is simply astounding. And I hope that our conversations have helped and will help so many others down the road. Dating teaches us a lot, mostly about ourselves. And while we can't undo the past, we can learn from it, laugh about it, and choose differently next time. If something in this episode resonated with you, good. That's what we're going for. Maybe it's clarity, maybe knowledge. If we have caused you to think differently, then mission accomplished. Thank you for listening to our very special episode of You Stickin' With That? For those who don't know, our episodes come out on Wednesday nights at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I would like to give a very special thanks to Beth, Lisa, and Joni for doing this today. We can go down the line. Do any of you have any final words that you would like to add?
This is Joni, and I would say if you're bringing somebody into your life, that person needs to add value to your life.
I agree. I think also that should be the easiest relationship you have.
Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and trust yourself a little more each day.